We're just about 1.5 years into Trump's second term, and I'm hearing criticisms from Democrats and Republicans of a pattern of poorly executed priorities that's emerging. President Trump said the new Air Force One, an unconditional gift estimated to be about $400 million, was, quote, appropriate for a president with, quote, all of the different bells and whistles. But today we know that there were security concerns that prompted Trump to leave behind that gift plane and fly back on the older presidential plane when he left Turkey yesterday, because it didn't have the required bells and whistles for security. And this keeps happening. That big ballroom project. President Trump initially said this.
And it's being paid for 100% by me and some friends of mine, donors. Rich people and people are putting up the money, zero taxpayer dollars.
In May, the Republican-controlled Senate Judiciary Committee requested $1 billion taxpayer dollars for funding that could go to security related to the $400 million ballroom. President Trump wanted to beautify the reflecting pool on the National Mall, paint it American flag blue. His administration hired a company in a no-bid contract, paid them $14 million, only to have the pool quickly turn green from algae, and the paint started peeling off the bottom, which the administration blamed on vandals. The pool was drained again on Sunday. Trump surged immigration enforcement into Minnesota to allegedly catch the worst of the worst. Federal immigration officers ended up shooting and killing 2 Minnesotans. Shootings and alleged cover-ups by Trump's Justice Department that led several prosecutors to quit. Trump started the war with Iran, citing an imminent nuclear threat after he spent months last year claiming the nuclear program had already been wiped out.
Those targets were obliterated. Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished.
Trump also said the Iran war would be over quickly, and that hastiness could have contributed to rushed decision-making and bad intelligence, leading to the horrific strike on the Iran elementary school, killing more than 160 innocent children, according to Iran's count. One could argue this is the logical result when an administration is staffed with ride-or-die loyalists instead of experts and the best of the best. What's your response?
Well, look what we've accomplished so far since he became president. We've secured the border for the first time in 50 years. Our border is the safest it's ever been. Violent crime is coming down. Ask the people in Washington, D.C. how much safer they are today than they were a year ago. Talk about the tax cuts that we delivered. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. You could transfer your farm to the next generation without paying a unbelievably high estate tax bill. There are so many good things that have happened. You can talk about planes and you can talk about the reflecting pool. That's aesthetics. I think as far as President Trump's vision has gone, the guy needs about 3 more hours of sleep a night. He is constantly into everything, and nobody should be surprised. We've known this since he hit the stage in 2014.
Well, in fairness, I didn't only talk about reflecting pools in the plane. I also talked about the immigration surge in which Minnesotans were killed, and I also talked about the war in Iran. And let's talk about the war in Iran, because President Trump's campaign promised no new wars, and it seemed to resonate with voters. I'm sure it resonated with Nebraskans. That promise has not been honored. How can the Republican Party convince voters in these midterms that Republicans still stand for America first and no new wars?
I've never been president of the United States, but I have to think when you sit in that Oval Office and you get the security briefings and you find out what the Iranian regime's up to, and you find out about their access to enriched uranium, nuclear weapons, dirty bombs, and you think about the threat to the homeland, it probably has your brain saying, okay, what do I need to do here to protect the American people? And this has gone on for 50 years. What has been so jarring about the situation over there is together with Israel, we have decimated the leadership. And next round, we get another set of leaders. They're martyrs. They are martyrs. And so every time we end up trying to get their attention, they break the rules that they have voluntarily signed up for. And then I think the president is right to use force. That's the only thing a bully understands. That's the only thing that will get their attention. So I understand why this is going on. I don't want this to go on very long, but we also can't cut and run. My barber, he's 85 years old. He's like, how long have they been at our throats? How long have they pledged death to America? Let's get this to a place where we don't live under their threat every single day.
You just had another feisty town hall. This time, Nebraskans seemed pretty upset when you tried to defend President Trump's Save America Act, which would severely restrict mail-in voting. Here's a little clip.
There are states in the nation where illegal immigrants are encouraged to vote.
Now, the right-leaning Heritage Foundation's database of confirmed fraud cases lists fewer than 100 examples of non-citizens voting between 2002 and 2022, amid more than 1 billion lawfully cast ballots. It should never happen, but it is extremely rare. The constituents who turned out at that town hall seem to not like the Save America Act. What do you say?
Well, you got to remember, these become performative for a certain number of very active Democrats to put on a show, to send some false message that everybody in Nebraska is against the SAVE Act. The folks down at the VFW aren't going down to the town hall, but I do them because I think it's a bad idea if we stop trying to talk to each other. I could sit through the jeers, the boos, and the disagreement of the few in that room that have those feelings if it allows me to talk to everybody else. And I think there's a lot of people at home that hear, hey, why don't we just show an ID at the voting box or at the voting booth? You know, more than 75% of Nebraskans want that. That's our law. And so it's hard for me to understand why simply showing an ID when you vote is crossing a boundary, other than Donald Trump wants it, and anything that he wants, there's a certain segment of the population that want exactly the opposite.
Honestly, I think you should be applauded for having these town halls. Too many members of Congress don't do them, and too many members of Congress are afraid of being booed. It's great that you do them. Do you ever learn anything new from them? I mean, do you ever change your mind because of them?
Actually, I do. So before each one, I sat outside and I shake everybody's hand that will shake my hand coming in. And you know, for a lot of those folks, I had an independent come up to me yesterday or the other day, and he said, you know, I don't agree with you on everything, but I vote for you because you do this. I vote for you because you come into the town square. I vote for you because I want to hear directly from you where you're out on these issues, and you're not afraid to take a question. I always think it's interesting. Everybody always says, I'm going to go fight for you in Washington. Well, how can you fight for somebody in Washington if you can't stand in the town square in your hometown and handle a few people that want to get in your face? You know, like at the end of the day, some of these folks, I've seen them at all my town halls. We know each other. I know their kids' names. They have great T-shirts with my picture on them. We take selfies together. This is like my summer club. You know, these folks have become friends. They're super nice when I shake their hand, but then they get in front of the cameras and there's a little acting that goes on there. But hey, that's politics. I'm sure it happens on our side too.